coming on in like 15 seconds here.
Oh, excellent. Good. All right. Well, then I'll start the show then. That's a good idea.
Cool.
Are you live on YouTube, Hal?
Yes, I am. I just went live. Hi, everybody. We jumped in because there was some tech happening in Chicago, and we were doing with that. So, hi, chat room. Welcome. Everybody got here.
That's our Adobe one.
All right, let's...
You guys are sending your chat to us, by the way, just so you know.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right,
Well,
let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Oh, I'm so excited. I can barely talk. It's like there's so much going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Johnny Million. How are you this lovely Saturday?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
So the first thing Johnny asks me when we get our digital hookup happening this morning was, go ahead.
If you bought the whole set of the Trump cards.
Yes, and I had to admit, I mean, he got me. He caught me out in the open. I invested.
He's a sucker for a collectible.
Yes, I basically put every dime I have into them. I have I'm all in for $4.5 million. But I got all of them, and I also entered into the sweepstakes to win a Zoom call with him, and dinner and golf and what else?
I just imagine that the Zoom call would be like
a one-on-one meeting, which is like dinner without dinner. I don't know what the hell that is, but okay. A one-on-one meeting.
The camera going up his nose.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm in on all those things, and I feel like a winner already. That said, settle in, welcome, infotainmentwars.com. Like and subscribe. We are at 45,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which, if you'll recall, a scant couple of years ago, we were at less than 3. So, and ours are real. It's an interesting thing.
And a couple of months ago, we were at 40,000.
Yes, we were. There is what I would call a digital quickening happening. Ed, going on.
Kind of tingly.
It is. There is a salve for it. That said, salve also spelled with an L and not a U. I don't know who these people who think suave somehow spells salve. I don't know what's wrong with them.
I haven't seen that. That's not good.
I've seen it on Twitter a lot. So lots going on in the news, and I just thought we'd start out the show after Trump's very bad, horrible week, which, if you have not seen my major announcement of the major announcement that I did live on my live stream, I had to jump on. I was not scheduled on Thursday to go live until the afternoon, and I had to because, oh my God, the Trump card thing was hysterical and pathetic and stupid, and I couldn't breathe. I was doubling over.
I was telling Hal I knew it would be bad, but like I used to get scared when he would do these like good big announcement. It's like, oh God, some big horrible racist movement is coming.
Right, something gross, something that's going to torment a minority in our community or in the country and make them feel like crap. Like I would automatically feel bad for people that he was going to pick on at random. Yeah.
And now Newsmax just hates him.
Dude.
Like watching Newsmax lose their crap on him was epic.
And Bannon bailing on it in like 30 seconds. I
missed that.
There were a bunch of these like right wingers who were like they were like, this is it. I don't know what it is. And there were all these people who were predicting, much like they were predicting a red wave, were predicting sort of a MAGA wave of new information where he's like, it's going to be his VP, he's going to be Speaker of the House up until he runs for office.
Yeah, I heard all of those like after the big disappointment. It's like, no, he's not going to do any of those things. And I was like, oh, those were on the table?
They were all on the table. For 24 hours afterwards, they're like, this is it. Make no mistake where you are. And, yeah, right. And when it turned... all those people were teed up to watch it. That was the only thing I wish The only thing I think would have been funnier than actually watching it myself when it launched, which I could not breathe at one point. I mean, I know I have a bit of a lingering cough, but this was next level. I was like, I'm going to need oxygen if I'm going to watch this whole video.
On the super chats, Lisa Miamora rocks already, but Jordan Mills Jordan Mills likes to be heard with a super chat kind of early in the show.
Yeah.
And he says there's evidence that Trump's team stole those images from Amazon and other places.
Yes, they're Chinese images from like Alibaba clothing. And they just photoshopped his head, which, by the way, is an artwork version of his head, like a Photoshop meets mild painting meets mild copy or whatever of his head that they shrunk down and put on there. He looks like one of those apple people at the fair. You know, when people would carve apples and just let the sun cook them?
Shrunken head.
Yes, it looks like that. And so they are all Amazon, but they're dropship Alibaba account Amazon stuff. Chinese manufacturing, like they're literally like Xinjiang cotton slave labor images.
And he's talking about like amazing art. It's just amazing art.
And that it's part of his amazing history, and it was exciting. The exciting things I've done.
His life of being on the moon,
right? And being
out of his eyes,
like in a wrestling outfit. Even the superhero thing, like people focus on the superhero thing, but if you look at it, he's in a wrestling ring. He's like, it's the weirdest, like cultural blind spot. Like old fogey, moronic, like childish mega preacher garbage I've ever seen. It was lovely. So, needless to say, I bought them all. I bought one of each, and I resold them for a profit immediately to some maggots on Telegram, and they thought I was the sucker for parting with them for the low price of $700 a piece, without even looking for the QAnon code in them first. Like the loser that I am. Now, we ended up talking about this. Next thing you know, we're going to talk through the whole next segment about the Twitter files, which turned out to be nothing and continue to be.
They came out and I missed it?
Dude, they're on chapter 6 already. They've had the 6.
How many chapters are there?
Nobody's saying. Nobody knows. It doesn't matter. They're making it up as they go along. There are no chapters. This is just what they're calling it. They think they're John Wick movies.
They've already released all the harmful stuff, and I haven't even heard about it, and I'm on Twitter semi-regularly.
Totally. Yeah, because there's nothing there. And every time they release these things, they have to admit, and we got to take a break, but they have to admit that the Trump administration, which was the sitting presidency at the time, was asking for
presidency.
The Trump administration was the sitting was like the currently during 2020 actually in power governmental entity versus Biden's campaign, which was a private political campaign with no material control over anything. We're both making similar requests to take down images or stop accounts that were either spoofing them or providing false like polling data. And I don't mean polling as in like percentages. I mean on like your poll has been moved if you live in this district in Alabama or in Georgia or in Arizona, right? Yeah, those kind of accounts. Both sides were asking for that stuff to be taken down, but they're only showing the internal emails and Slack discussions from the left side of things. Even while admitting the ones on the right exist, they are simply not showing them. So the illusion of fairness or the illusion of free speech or whatever is garbage. It's phony. And I mean, you can't take it seriously because there's no there, even when they do this. So we'll end up talking a little bit about that. But when we come back, I want to make maggots really mad. I've had it up on the screen and you've been able to look at it. But this is going to make them so angry. They're going to be furious. Maggots, get ready. Trolls, settle in. It's going to be a rough ride for you guys this week. You're not going to like this at all. I'm getting turgid just thinking about it. We'll be back right after this.
And of course, Hal Vickery came in with happy to be COVID free and enjoying the reaction to the really strange cards. Thank you, Hal.
I try. Like I said, you got to think. If all those people who wanted Trump in jail like 10 days after January 6th had gotten their way, we would have been denied that laugh this week.
True.
It's wrong. It's just, I find that wrong. And you don't get those kind of laughs in life that easily, that often. And I feel like that would be a crime against humanity to not be able to laugh at this idiot. And quite frankly, him doing him from jail would have been sad instead of hilarious. The fact that he's in just kind of like self-exile at Mar-a-Lago. Sorry, I gotta hold it together. I just think about it. Thank you. I just think about it and I start laughing. Damn. Oh man. Bo of the fifth column or whatever had a good take on the Hunter Biden stuff. What Hunter Biden stuff? I would say you could have done without the laugh, Stargal. No one can do without a laugh.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So, all right, I made a couple of promises, and this is really going to aggravate the maggots. The GOP, none of the Republicans that are elected are going to talk about this at all. But the Biden administration is refilling the strategic oil reserve of the oil that they used to affect the market during, the earlier part of this year, where per barrel, the Biden administration sold those barrels of oil at $93 a barrel. They are now buying the oil back to refill the strategic reserve at $72 a barrel, meaning that they are refilling the oil reserves back to where they were, and they are making a profit on it. Yeah, that's right. The Biden administration not only helped American consumers and drivers throughout this artificial spike in oil prices and gas prices that we all had to deal with because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and because of the Saudis manipulating our electorate leading up to the midterm, which they were open about. Not only is he doing that, not only did he actually do the job of the presidency, which they all pretended to hate, but they would have done the exact same thing if it had been them in office, but he's making a profit on the entire thing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, if I may. U.S. Department of Energy announced Friday a plan to add oil back to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve after a historically large release undertaken by the Biden administration. After the prices went to 120, the plan represents an opportunity to secure a good deal for Americans by repurchasing oil at a lower price than the 96 per barrel average, the price it was sold for. Currently, oil is going for somewhere between $72 and $77 a barrel. Basically, they wait for it to drop near 72 on any given day, and then they just buy a chunk of it. They pull Amazing. They pull a Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. They just wait till it drops and going, buying WTI crude at 72, and then everybody just throws paper at them. That's what they're doing. They're doing it every day, and it's aggravating the Saudis, and it's angering the maggots, and it is really infuriating the rep MTGs because by the time they have it basically up to where it was before, the price of oil is going to continue to go down over the next few months because of demand destruction and the slowing of the Chinese economy and all kinds of other factors. And because of that, we're going to be back up to the levels that we were at. And the Biden administration in the spring will be able to announce the profit they turned on the oil in the strategic reserve that they are now using as part of discretionary funds to pay for some big Democratic priority, which is going to be so aggravating. Which, by the way, will also turn a profit for the U.S. government. Like, it's so fun. Now, what's the other thing? This is the other story that's since the passing of the CHIPS Act and the limitations that the Biden administration has put on not just the sale of high quality computer chips to China, the kind you use for AI and targeting systems and satellites and all that kind of stuff. Not just those, but the machines that make those chips in the first place. The idea that the spread between the coded, I don't even know how to describe it away, but there's the distance between transistors on a circuit board of this quality is measured in nanometers, and the difference between 14 nanometers, which is insane, and 8 nanometers is exponential in terms of its computing power and its heat reduction and its lowering of energy use. The ones that the United States has and that TSMC, the Taiwanese company, have, and that a company in the Netherlands also has, are 4 nanometers. They are the kind that you need for quantum computing. China's highest level ones, which they have not made themselves, they have purchased, are between 14 and 18 nanometers, and they don't always work. They're the kind of chips you find in toys. They're the kind of chips you find in. They're
Pringles
not
cans?
Huh? In what?
Pringles cans?
No.
No.
Those are stacked. No, those are all stacked in a very.
I really
odd form.
thought I was tracking this conversation.
And cover it in cheddary goodness. No, that is not the same. They're the kind of thing you find in a crap wind-up dog, or one of that robot that waddles a little bit, or how about this? Those Santa dolls that drop trow while singing a song and shake their butt? That's the 14 nanometer chip quality. Just so you know, all right?
Okay.
Once you get into the 4 nanometer stuff, these are the computers of the future. This is the kind of stuff you get ChatGPT from, and all the AI that we're seeing starting to grow everywhere. And China's being denied those things because they are using them for military purposes. All their companies are half owned by the government. There's all sorts of reasons why on a national security level, it makes no sense for any country in the world to just let them have this and go, we're just going to do this to make cars and GPS satellites and stuff, when they are absolutely not. It's all being used for military uses. It's just like giving it to North Korea at this point. It's silly. And the big deal is that with the CHIPS Act and the Biden administration, deciding to do this year, the question was, could you get the other countries that are crucial to this online to participate in this as well? It doesn't do us any good if we're the only country denying them this, if, say, the Netherlands, who makes some of these machines, is still selling them to China, right? Well, guess what? China's isolation from the global semiconductor ecosystem is almost complete. In a matter of weeks, Japan and the Netherlands are expected to join the U.S. in its construction of a silicon fence around the nation. Parallels with the Cold War and the Soviet bloc being cut off from the West provide hints as to the struggles Beijing will face in coming decades. Governments in Tokyo and Amsterdam are set to announce they'll adopt at least some of the measures the U.S. has already implemented to cut China off from the supply of semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Bloomberg News reported on Tuesday. That means chip makers in the world's second largest economy will need to beg, borrow, or steal technology if they have any chance of narrowing a wide gap between the U.S., Taiwan, and South Korea. You can kind of guess, considering how Xi Jinping treats the innovators in China's society, how they're going to end up getting this stuff. They're going to steal it. The problem is you can't steal support. You can't steal the ability to write the software, for example, on it. Over and over again, like every update includes more and more complications in this kind of technology. And once you're 2 years behind, in that 2 years, it's easy to get 10 years behind. And that's the issue. So these two things. And by the way, for the record, anybody, Rudy Giuliani included, who can explain to me how Hunter Biden sold access to Joe and they walked out of there with $1 billion, and China has total control over Joe Biden. How is that at all possible, considering the extraordinary and historic steps the Biden administration is taking to curtail the Chinese military's use of modern American technology for their own purposes and to slow the approach of China overtaking the U.S. economy through illicit means in the next decade, which they are not going to do. That's done now. Just count on it. Ray Dalio even is turning around, like a lot of these, like, China, like money doves are lunatics. There is no there. Everyone knows it. It's just an absurdity. Until Xi Jinping and the CCP release the Chinese people to do what they can do amongst themselves and are free to do what they can do themselves, there is a glass ceiling that has been put over top of the Chinese economy and the Chinese society by their own government that will stop all value and growth emerging from that country. They have effectively decided to catch a bird, put it in a cage, and wrap it in plastic so it can't fly out, with no, awareness that it will kill the bird. Like this is the state of affairs currently. It's horrible, and the United States, it would doom ourselves to allow them access to the level of AI technology that's available currently, much less the stuff that's coming in the future, with that kind of attitude towards the rest of the world. Don't get me started on Han supremacy. So it's a scary notion that this even has to happen, but it is.
I liked that first movie of the Han supremacy.
Was it? Yeah. No, that was The Wrath of Khan Supremacy that you were thinking.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Han! All right, so, so those two things alone should aggravate the maggots to no end. And I guess they can always fall back on Biden got a prosecutor in Ukraine fired that everyone in Europe, everyone in the U.S. Congress, and everyone in the sitting administration at the time, meaning the Obama administration, wanted fired. Dude made it happen, bragged about it on stage in front of a live audience, and Rudy Giuliani is still playing that clip on Twitter thinking he discovered like a hot mic moment. Like I've yet to, and P.S., in the context of all that, Donald Trump hired Paul Manafort to be his campaign chairman, and Paul Manafort was responsible directly for the deaths of Euromaidan protesters being shot on purpose. And Trump was aware of it at the time. I don't want to, it's just nonsense. When we come back, a little more of the Twitter files nonsense. And then, of course, in the next hour, Philip Bittner will be joining us from Ukraine to discuss the constant change that is happening there. The ground is starting to harden. The battles are continuing. And this is an ongoing endeavor between our two countries. We'll be back right after this.
I was at 11:30.
You're just, Johnny Million, you're a bad mamma jamma.
Oh, Convoy has new music coming out very soon.
I know. And you get just a bad man. You're just a bad man. Just a bad man. Let's see. Okay, and then where's the other one? Yeah, this is the funny thing. We gotta. Ugh.
Back in 30.
Thank you.
30.
Did you see Trump's big wig out this morning?
This morning? No, I was at an AA meeting.
Oh, all right.
What's he doing?
Stand by.
Thank you. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So this is just one of those weeks where just like billionaires and former billionaires and fake billionaires just lose their minds. Is that what it is? Is that what the horoscope said? Like if you're star sign is billionaire. It's just like, this week you'll be losing your crap. Trump takes to Truth Social. By the way, you want to know how well the appointment of Jack White is going? Let's
Like
take
Seven
a little
Nation Army?
Yes, different guy. Take a little trip with me, if you will.
Let's go.
Inside it's like the land of make believe, where Mr. McFeely hops on the train with us and takes us to, what was the woman on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood who lived in basically the LA Forum with the apple face?
Oh.
She's just scared the
red nose?
Crap. Yes. She scared the crap out of me when
All right, come on, chat.
So, all right, yeah, they'll pop in and they'll tell us. Our country is sick inside, very much like a person dying of cancer. The crooked FBI, the
Lady
so-called
Elaine.
Lady Elaine. No.
Yeah.
No.
No?
Lady Elaine was the living woman, wasn't it?
Oh, Madam.
Madam, yes. No, that's Waylon Flowers' character. Waylon Flowers and Madam. She looked the same, though. She had the same
Lady
kind of...
Elaine Fairchild, they're saying. The one with the red nose, the scary one, was Lady Elaine Fairchild?
I don't think so. Isn't that the hippie chick who hung around,
The actual person?
the actual live woman who was there?
Googling.
All right, it's going to drive me crazy. All right, our country is sick inside, all caps, sick. Very much like a person dying of
it's
cancer.
Lady Elaine. Sorry, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Scary one, yeah.
Yikes. Okay, the crooked FBI, the so-called Department of Justice and Intelligence, Department of Intelligence, like he's got them both in quotes. I don't know,
that's not happening.
All parts of the Democrat Party and system is the cancer.
Oh.
That's a lot of cancer. That's a lot of different kinds of cancer. These weaponized thugs and tyrants must be dealt with, or our once great and beautiful country will die.
What on earth?
I know. Like,
now he's what, Nostradamus?
well, and I mean, obviously, like even a charitable reading of that is he's calling for the abject murder of just anybody in any of those groups, because they are a cancer. You're not murdering.
It sounds like a threat.
You're just committing an act of chemo. Isn't that lovely?
An act of chemo. I like that.
Thanks. Never mind the fact, by the way, that no one cares. Like, this is not his entire feed is full of QAnon memes. There is not a single legit person in that entire feed that's going to do a damn thing anywhere other than pop off and do themselves in or something. And it's terrible that he'll push his own people to do this kind of crap, but it's not amounting to a hill of beans. That said, we've been watching this whole, well, some of us have, watching this whole Twitter files nonsense come out. And it has been, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, lame AF. None of it is landing in any meaningful sense. All of it is a smokescreen for the fact that the Trump administration was asking for the very same things that everybody was like, we think these accounts are violating the Twitter terms of service. And they're like, yep, we think they are too. So we cut them off, or no, they're not. So we just left them. That was the response they were getting from Twitter. Law enforcement was calling them and saying, this seems like a violation of your terms of service. And these seem, to be fomenting violence or election fraud. And they're like, yeah, we think so. Or, nah, we didn't think so. So we left it up. Like, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's what it all amounts to. And there's so much I believe and I feel, and it's very disappointing or it's very concerning. All that kind of language about these things when the material reality around them is nothing. There's a lot of conversation around it. If you read the, how Barry Weiss, how Matt Taibbi and others talk about this stuff, they use very clickbaity language, where it's like, and then everybody cuts off the part where they say, if true, ... Look, you have access to all of the internal conversations, all of them, every single one. So everything you show better be a smoking gun, or why do we care? Right? I mean, this is like the Rudy Giuliani, Hunter Biden laptop story nonsense, where he shows this stuff up like text messages with no metadata that are visible printouts of something that, nobody could fake in Photoshop. He holds them up in front of the screen instead of putting them up on screen, doesn't allow you to source them. And then they have this like, maybe you won't have to give half your money to dad, like that kind of stuff. Like interfamily complaints from an addict about his parents basically socking away half his money so that he doesn't snort it all. Right? That is supposed to be evidence of a crime. And it isn't. It just isn't. And there's so much of this about this that could be inflammatory and kind of titillating and exciting and, oh my God, the stuff behind the scenes. When in reality, the only way it gets even passably close to any kind of a scandal is when they actively choose to show one side of the conversation and hide the other without Elon Musk hand-holding Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss through this whole thing and saying, here's the Slack conversations you can show, here's the ones you can't, which is the problem in the first place. The whole goal of this is to create the illusion of unfairness. And it wouldn't be that big a deal if it didn't endanger the lives of people who work at Twitter and at the Department of Justice and every other place that Trump has decided to describe everyone as cancer. So they describe in the new one, and you see this quote all the time, Twitter files Part 6, reveal FBI's ties to tech giant, as if it were a subsidiary. That's on Fox News, that's in quotes, as if it were a subsidiary. Okay, well, where does that quote come from? As if it were a subsidiary. That's Matt Taibbi's opinion from the first tweet from the second or the sixth round of the Twitter files. It is not borne out at all in what he lays out in the following tweets. There's literally nothing that says they were a subsidiary to it any more than if Coca-Cola contacted someone and said, hey, there's a fake Coke account that's saying we have arsenic in our product. Could you please take it down? And that makes Twitter an automatic subsidiary of Coca-Cola. It's like they're playing on the infantile sort of technophobia of certain QAnon level nuts within the Republican Party, and then hiding behind a wall of, like I said, the illusion of unfairness that they are concocting on purpose. Meanwhile, there's an article I have up on the screen at infotainmentwars.com. And of course, you can subscribe there, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, helps us out. Patreon.com/HalSpark keeps us on the air. So give that a shot also. And there's an article in Bloomberg that Elon Musk is seeking new Twitter investors to join him. And he's trying to get them to pay the same price he paid for all of the stock. Why?
That's not good.
How does that make any sense to anyone? Elon Musk is seeking new investors for Twitter Incorporated at $54.20 a share, same price he paid when he took the company private for $44 billion in October and kicked off a contentious overhaul. The managing director of the billionaire's family office, Jared Birchall, has been reaching out to potential backers this week. News site Semaphore reported on Friday. Ross Gerber, who runs Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management and took part in the earlier Twitter buyout, confirmed the outreach. The fundraising attempt follows a tumultuous stretch at Twitter where Musk has slashed jobs, upended longstanding policy, and reinstated banned accounts. Just this week, the company suspended several journalists that Musk said had put his family in danger by revealing location information about his private plane. Now, Aaron Rupar and others are back online after being kicked off. And then, did you see this whole drama, Johnny Million?
I don't think so.
Okay, so there was an account called Elon Jet that took.
I heard about this, where he was tracking the private jet.
Yes, he also was tracking Bezos's jet and a couple others. There's one that does Putin's plane. There's they've been around for a long time. They're online and they all have accounts on all social medias. They're on Facebook and everything. And for some reason, Elon Musk, in his hyper paranoia, largely brought about by his mixing of weed he can't handle and nootropics at the same time, and decaffeinated Diet Coke, which is a terrible chemical mix for any human being and will give you marshmallow body. If you don't believe me, go look up pictures of Elon Musk swimming. And
he looks amazing.
Oh, yeah. So
I might have tweeted one of his pictures recently.
Don't do that. You'll get put in Twitter jail. You'll get put in Twitmo.
I'm hoping.
Right.
Twitmo.
Give you. Well, that's what Tara Dublin Rocks called it. She got put in Twitmo for a week. She gets out tomorrow. Now, let's start with the fact that it's not worth $54 a share at all. Let's also start with the fact that since he bought Twitter, Tesla stock has lost enough money to buy Twitter 6 times. Elon Musk sold $3 billion worth of Tesla stock earlier this week, largely just to cover overhead at both companies, to keep them from going under, to artificially inflate the stock by, giving it to other people to buy on his behalf. Among other things. It's just garbage. It's just, absurd. The important thing to recognize here is that this was never a richest guy in the world flat out buying it because he's just got money sitting around. He had to leverage Tesla stock to do it. In that process, the value of that stock cadavered, and it is not worth anywhere near what it used to be worth, and it's continuing to go down. Do you know how Tesla makes the majority of their money? Like the biggest single payday they get?
It's not car sales?
Nope. Try again. One more.
Car, like just marketing their name?
Nope. Selling carbon credits. You know that?
No.
Yeah. By the way, they get a giant dip from the federal government for selling carbon credits and from other companies. So big polluters get to buy carbon credits from Tesla, and all Tesla has to do is continue to crank out cars, even if no one buys them in China or other places, because they make more money from the carbon credits for cars that they may or may not even make. So, it's increasingly disappointing. Never mind the cars that catch fire and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that automated driving is not happening. Remember the Tesla cab that you were going to be able to at night when you go to sleep, your car was going to be able to roam the countryside, making you money. Right? That was in 2017. That was like a year and a half away. At least Elon Musk puts a 2-year cap on things instead of a 2-week cap like Trump. At least he's learned that lesson. But that's their primary moneymaker these days. Tesla is selling carbon credits to big polluters. Again, for cars that may or may not even make it to market eventually.
Unreal.
Yeah. And that guy, while his stock is tanking for that, which he used to leverage money and loans and partnerships with other people, because, oh man, Tesla's stock's just going to the moon, man. On and on and on and up, up, up. By the way, Tesla and SpaceX don't exist without government contracts at all. Neither one of them could stand on their own, especially SpaceX, which is effectively a private NASA subsidiary, just like Lockheed Martin or any of the other companies that make stuff for NASA. It wouldn't exist. It's not this standalone private entity. You could argue that Blue Origin, the Bezos company at the very least, he's just doing it as a profit-making thing. Like, he's literally throwing these rockets up for the F of it, right? You know, in the same way that Richard Branson is shooting for something, you know, with his Virgin Galactic at some point. But in the case of SpaceX, that is a NASA contract. That is it's a giant NASA contract. And so the idea that this guy can be like a libertarian, anti-government control, free speech advocate who, by the way, bounces reporters from Twitter when they show where his plane lands, not where he is, unless he and his family sleep in the plane, which I doubt. Right? Who cares where the plane lands? That's readily available FAA data. You can track any plane that way. He kicked off the guy who did Elon Jet, but he did not kick off the Bezos one until people called him out on it. Then he started doing it, you know, to cover his butt. But so Aaron Rupar and several others got kicked off. This is all
just public information, but somebody's tweeting it.
Yeah. And Aaron Rupar and all these guys reported on the fact that not only had this guy been kicked off of Twitter, but his other accounts everywhere else were still up. They didn't violate kind of generic terms of service on other sites because nobody thinks they do. But in this particular case, because he owns Elon Musk, allegedly, and we'll have to, again, it's when you look at the money and the story behind this stuff, it's harder and harder to buy, but no pun intended. But he kicked him off just for personal reasons. He took it personally. And then he kicked off people for bringing it up and pointing out that these sites are still live on other sites, but it's somehow, you know, they crossed the line on his. He's not suing those other companies. And this is the telling part of it. This is how you know he's full of crap. He didn't sue Facebook to have Elon Jet taken down on Facebook because he thought it endangered his life. He just bounced it on Twitter because he felt like it was a power play. Yeah. Yeah. And so, anyways, all those guys came back in about 24 hours. He did a poll, and then the poll, like, reinstate them now, won the first poll, and then won the second poll by more. And so he finally brought them back. Also, if you'll notice, the Twitter files, one of the reasons why you haven't heard about them is because they dropped them late on a Friday. What do we know about news dumps late on Fridays?
Yeah, they're dropped that way so they go under the rug so nobody notices.
Exactly. So you know they exist maybe, but you didn't really dig into it because it's the weekend, man. He's counting on that. And that will be part of the ongoing part of this, is that it'll all be at buried hours of the day. They all come out late at night. They all come out at times when nobody's looking, and it's a waste of time. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. I raced past this break. We got to grab one. And then Philip Bittner will be joining us in the next hour. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Okay. Me and John Million hanging out, having some fun. All right. All right now. Hey, Johnny Million, what are you doing January 17th or Valentine's Day?
Let me see. 17th is a Tuesday, so nut and honey. Valentine's Day, same deal, nut and honey.
Well, I mean, obviously Valentine's Day will be, with the lady.
Do you guys want to take a long
Frank Harrison really wants me to
come back?
Bring up
the regular short one's fine. Thanks.
Perfect.
Frank Harrison really wants me to bring up the Elon Musk tie to blood diamonds, but I think we've talked about that before.
Right. Yeah, and it's not that like people kind of know, but ultimately it's what he's doing now, rather than what his father did.
Right.
That matters. It's like some people, their parents make money in a bad way and they give it away to charity and they do stuff with it. It's not about their parents. It's about what they do. It's just that clearly.
Why do you ask about those Tuesdays?
Huh? Oh, because those are the next Ultimate Jam nights, and I'm at some point I'm going to make you come out here and visit me and perform on stage with me.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
Yes, it would. I insist.
Yes. Back in 30.
Thank you. By the way, the right wing is crapping all over Christopher Wray this morning.
Who's he?
The FBI director that Trump appointed.
Oh, because he's in the pocket of Biden all of a sudden?
Right.
Stand by.
Thank you.
Due to budget and time constraints, all the creativity has been removed from the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide bumpers. Now welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
That's how I sound first thing in the morning.
Yeah. What a lovely singing voice you must have. Right now on Twitter, by the way, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, has responded to some of the nonsense around the Twitter files, which is garbage. It's silly. It's absurd. It's a bunch of goofy nonsense. Republicans need to grow the hell up. This on the one hand, they view the southern border as an invasion, and on the other hand, they want to play naive about foreign malign influence in our social media networks and in the press and stuff. When, again, it goes all the way back to when CNN was just reading tweets on the air from random users with no idea where they were coming from. And yeah, remember that?
Like
remember
it was
back?
News.
Yeah. You're like, one of our viewers, who says they're a viewer, dummy? That's not how this works.
But you don't know content.
Right, exactly. And look how hip we are, you know. So this morning, the FBI replies to Matt Taibbi. This was the FBI regularly engages with private sector entities to provide information specific to identified foreign malign influence actors' subversive, undeclared, covert, and criminal activities. Private sector entities independently make decisions about what, if any, action they take on their platforms and for their customers after the FBI has notified them, which is, by the way, exactly how the Twitter files read. Everything that Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss are writing out about the FBI reaching out to Twitter about any of these things all reads out exactly that way. That is exactly what happens, because in some cases, Twitter decided to take people off the account, or certain accounts. I'm not even going to say they were people because we don't even know. And they're not even, they're bot accounts. The idea that they're even in the United States is an absurdity. You have no idea. They take these accounts down, or they take these articles down. And on the other hand, they leave them up. Sometimes they just go, nah, we're good. And they just leave it floating. That's exactly how it works. It's how it works with the police show up and say, we think this guy who has breakfast here every morning is dealing drugs in your corner booth. And we might have to bust him in front of the place. We don't want to come in here and, blame you. We're just letting you know we know that's what he's doing. And just be aware that we don't want to scare any of your customers when we take him down when he leaves. But you don't have to kick him out. You can. You can ask him to pay his check and get out right now. But you don't have to, because we'll bust him when he gets outside. Like, that happens all the time.
Sure.
And it's childish. It's infantile to assume otherwise. Why wouldn't you want the FBI to go, hey guys, we receive intercepts all the time from drug cartels and terrorist organizations and foreign governments that are trying to wreck the United States. And you might want to know that they're using these accounts and these folks, and folks like this are being paid to do this. It's up to you if you want to take them down. We can't tell you what to do. That would be illegal. But we're letting you know. And half the time Twitter said yeah, and the other half they said no. And it wasn't partisan. It just happens to be, it seems in some cases, if you believe Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi, that there were more right-wingers who were engaged in this kind of foreign malign actor chicanery on social media than there were left-wing accounts doing it. That's it.
Sure, of course.
Because, cops tend to go where the crime is the idea, in theory. This is the FBI's response to Taibbi right here. And then, of course, this has sicked the right wing loose on Christopher Wray as being one of the most terrible people ever to run the place. By the way, do you remember who put him in charge?
Oh, it's got to be Trump.
Yeah. He fired James Comey, and he specifically put Christopher Wray in there. Here's Matt Taibbi's tweet, number 10 from his original thing. Both parties had access to these tools. He means the ability to take down tweets and stuff, not calling people at Twitter tools, although there's an argument there. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and Biden campaign were received and honored. Yeah, both sides benefiting. There's a big distinction. There's a huge distinction between both of those sides getting their requests honored. Does anybody know, anybody want to figure out what the difference between the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were? That what was the difference? Right? What was the difference? Well, I'll tell you. One was in charge of the federal government.
Uh-huh.
And the other was not. The other had no material power to affect your rights any more than any other citizen in the country had. And again, if you had a spoof account saying that Coca-Cola was full of arsenic and Coca-Cola called up and said, hey, can you take this account down? They're lying about our product and this is libelous and gross and we're seeing if we can sue them, but they may not even be in the country. If Twitter takes it down, they're not coordinating with Big Soda to deny you your free speech rights. You putz. So, other than that, I have no opinion. We got to take a break. We'll be back after this. Philip Ittner will be joining us. And he's sideways. I don't know why he's sideways, but it's fascinating. He's you'll see what I mean. We'll be back right after this.
Can't wait.
Let's see. See if this comes up on here.
Oh, there you go. Oh, now he's right side up.
Oh, right, good.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. I was just there he is. It's too much information. Just too much information, Johnny Million. By the way, leave your mic live. Here we go. Here we go. And then I'll put Philip in here. And there we go. Hi, chat room, by the way. Huh? It's cold. Are you cold? Are you chilly? Are you turning your heater on? There he is. Ha ha, there he is. Let's try this over here. Take this. I gotta, hold on.
I don't know why I'm sideways. I was sideways. That's weird.
I didn't know. It was fascinating. I mean, I don't mind it so much, you know. It's kind of artistic, you know. Downright
sure.
Jaunty.
Now, I'll warn you in advance. I have not read a lick of anything that happened today. I was out running around.
As you do.
Filming.
Yeah.
Well, I'm filming the thing for Christmas, how we're surviving the winter and how folks are celebrating even under these conditions. So
lovely.
Anyhow, that's what I was doing. But that's not to say that I haven't, kept an eye on things. I just haven't done a deep dive.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm way better. I just got the lingering.
You sound better.
Yeah.
No, you sound like 100% better.
Dude, I was like
Wednesday.
Dude,
no, I was well, look, hey, in all seriousness, Hal, I have known people to drive themselves into the ground, thinking that that's the right thing to do, when really all they're doing is just driving themselves. I saw it all the time in the news business. People just driving themselves beyond, thinking that, no, I have to keep going. And as a Simon editor, sometimes when I used to say, no, this is not, this is non-negotiable. Right. You go to bed. because
Right.
if you drive yourself
With
too hard,
That's right.
you'll be then you'll be out for a week. Whereas if
Right.
you go to bed now,
Yes,
maybe
and you'll
you'll be up
take
for a
some
day
of
or
us
two.
with you, by the way, and not in the good
and you'll take
sense.
something right. So I'm glad to see you better, my friend.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that was gnarly. Yeah, it was not.
That was gnarly. You were not in good shape, buddy.
No,
you were not. You were not in
no.
good shape.
So,
No. So
can you
see Olga? Can you see Olga?
Oh, we can see Olga. Believe me. Yes.
Can you see my painting? Have you seen my new painting?
It's off on the side a little bit.
I would really like for you to do some shadow puppets
Oh,
and
yeah.
introduce them like that.
Do you see what that is?
Can you see my
Yeah.
elephant?
That's the
middle finger soldier.
Nice.
But
giving the burning
with the Kremlin, the star
the
on
Kremlin
top
burned
of
to
the
the
Kremlin
ground. Wow.
burnt to the ground. Is
That is
that not a great painting?
Dude, that
or
is some
what?
straight up World War II art.
Yeah,
Right on.
it's very cool. And then I went to an art gallery today, and I commissioned a reproduction of a painting by a very famous Russian painter, Ilya Repin, depicting Ivan the Terrible killing his son. He killed his own son, and so Repin did this painting of it, and it's very evocative.
Oh.
And I thought it was very poignant because, of course, that's exactly what Putin is doing to both Ukraine and Russia. He's killing what he professes to love. So we'll get that up on the wall before too long, maybe about a week. Thank you, Chicago.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
Right before we get on the air, you shut up.
That's the perfect timing, right?
Do you think?
I gotta shrink myself down here.
Audio's okay. Everything else is okay.
Yep, we're good.
I can still hear you.
That's something.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I thought there was going to be like a new one every break. I was so excited.
You want more, Hal? We'll give you more. Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. Hoo-yah!
Welcome back to the show, and welcome Philip Ittner joining us again from Ukraine right now, where it is chilly, but he is keeping himself warm and artistically satisfied, both by roaming around filming things and videoing things for his upcoming vlogs and the story that he's going to end up ultimately telling after all this is over as well, and enjoying his new artwork behind him, including Olga of Kiev, one of the most BA women in human history. Right up there with Ripley and Black Widow, and except real. And then of course Johnny Million is with us. Follow at Johnny Million and at Philip Ittner 1L 2Ts on Twitter for as long as it lasts. It may not be much longer, so we'll find something. But oh man. So lots to talk about. Not the least of which is I want to hear if there's any kind of sense, Philip, about this concept of attacks from the north. We've got information that that MiGs have been flying from Belarus over Ukraine. That said, they seem to be leaving Belarus and flying over towards the Donbass and around that area, not out over the center of the country or anywhere else. So
well, they better not.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, Iran is just reporting that, Russia's reporting that Iran has supplied them with more of these kind of scooter level kamikaze drones, the Shahed drones. But it's, it's not boding well for the Russians. The other thing too is Prigozhin's Wagner group got hit right in their base. So let's start with that.
200 dead.
Yeah, because we were chatting about that on Wednesday. But
according
we didn't have a full
Ukrainians, report. No, we didn't. According to the Ukrainians, they hit with the HIMARS system one of the bases for the Wagner group, which it never ceases to amaze me. All the people that say that Ukraine is filled with Nazis And yet, on the other side of the equation, we actually have a paramilitary group named after Adolf Hitler's favorite composer.
Right.
But go figure. Anyhow, the Wagner group got hit by the HIMARS system pretty hard at a headquarters station in Lugansk in support of the offensive that they're trying to take Bakhmut. Clearly, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group, is trying to get a trophy that he can take to Vladimir Putin to show his effectiveness as a fighting group. But because of the capability and the distance of the HIMARS, they were able to smack their headquarters. Now, the Russians say, a handful of people died, 3, 6, 10, whatever. Right. The Ukrainians are like, no, that was filled with your officer corps. Yeah. And we got upwards of 200 people dead. I mean, clearly both sides are either going to downplay or hype it up, depending.
So you can weigh the middle of it and air it towards who's been the most truthful about stuff so far. Right. And you'll come out with probably...
Yeah, and also if you know the capacity of the HIMARS, and if you hit something with a HIMARS, we have seen repeated videos of the massive damage that those things can do because they're so precise, and because they carry a warhead that is significant enough, and they can cluster them together, and it's just it's a deadly weapon. Right. So I would err more towards the Ukrainian side of things, but hey, look, who knows? The important thing is, in many ways, that they were able to hit the command center for the Wagner group, which gave them a bloody nose. No two ways about it.
Did you hear?
Now, when it comes to the Belarus, did I hear what?
Yeah. Did you hear the reason why they found that place in particular? Did you hear the story about why?
Oh, goody. Okay. No, I hadn't heard this yet. I admittedly have been out filming and doing other stuff, and yesterday was crazy because we got hit so hard.
Because Prigozhin's kid got a cush job in the back at that place. Instead of being sent to the front or into the fighting, he got to hang around at this cushier base. They call this place the guest house. It was like a bed and breakfast type hotel.
It's a resort.
It's very nice. And so he put his own son in this place. He says his son is fine. There aren't any pictures, but he's telling everybody that his son is fine. But there is a picture that they used the geolocation data from that his son put on social media of himself in front of the building with other Wagner group dudes.
Of course.
Prigozhin's own son.
When that broke, right? I remember the day it broke that they had hit this and at the first the first thing I heard about this strike was a bunch of tankies who because I'm a masochist, I listen to more than I should, but guys who are pro-Russia, anti-NATO, Westerners, the kind of like,
they're gonna get it now. Right.
Yeah, America's bad, and everything America does is bad, but Russia's great.
Yeah, which is the weirdest part of it. Like, if you're going to be a doubter about governments, then at least have some consistency about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go support New Zealand.
Yes, exactly.
They're lovely. They're lovely.
Yeah.
And if they don't want our nuclear submarines in their ports in Auckland or wherever it is, then
cool.
Good on them. Fine. Yep. I got no problem with that. But if you're going to tell me that Russia is better than having lived in Russia and having seen what Russia does at war, you're going to tell me they're on an equivalency level with America? Well, forget about it, because I've seen what the Russians do.
It's good
firsthand.
Anyways, you were saying.
And I've seen what the Americans do. Anyhow, so when this first broke, all the tankies, all the kind of anti-NATO, anti-American, oh my God, those dastardly Ukrainians blew up a resort town. They're just indiscriminately attacking stuff. And I was sitting there going, you idiots. There's no way the Ukrainians would just decide to hit some sort of bed and breakfast or some sort of hotel in Lugansk. Of course it was housing some sort of, officer corps.
Especially after Zelensky has spent the earlier part of the week saying we need more rounds, we need more ammunition. Like, you're not going to waste anything just doing attrition bombing unless you're Russia, which is just like, we're not even sure these things will blow up on landing, so let's just chuck all of them at the infrastructure. 92% of the targets they're hitting are infrastructure throughout the country at this point. Well,
I mean, yesterday was a testament to that.
Yeah.
And we will talk about that dollar to dollar equivalency when we talk about the Patriots, because Patriot missile systems, if indeed, and it does look like they're coming, those are expensive. They're very expensive. So you don't want it has to be impressed upon the Ukrainians not to shoot the Patriots off to take out, $200,000 Iranian drones. Not that I think the Ukrainians would do that, but I think it will be very important to go, look, these systems are expensive. They're really your top line. If you think a nuke is coming, and we will get intelligence. Dear Malcolm Nance and I have sat down many times over a beer or a steak dinner. He loves his steak. And discuss this, because he was actually, in his military career in the Naval Command, he spent some time at NORAD. I believe it was NORAD, but at the nuclear command chain. And he said, look, we have, because of our negotiations and our treaties and all the rest of it, we know where pretty much every nuke is. And for them to haul a nuclear warhead out of storage and put it onto there's been a lot of talk about the Russians having maneuvered a system which could launch a nuclear warhead. Well, that's all well and good, except for the fact that you have to actually physically get the warhead itself, the thing that creates nuclear fission and creates an explosion. That has to be brought out of storage and put onto that system, so they can freak everybody out moving these missile systems around. But if they don't have the warhead, and we are so interlocked and we know where the warheads are, that we will be able to monitor when they pull them out, and that's not happening. So when they get the Patriots, they must save those for the really deadly potential attacks.
Yeah, I think
we got a break to go to.
Yes, we do. In about a minute. And when we come back, I do want to discuss kind of some of the language around Poland that has come back, and maybe explain to people why Russia thinks that's a selling point for their own people. About Poland is just waiting to invade the west of Ukraine. Is this weird storyline that it's like a zombie storyline that comes back occasionally that needs some kind of historical context.
With a sliver of, I won't say truth, but a sliver of veracity that needs to be discussed, and we will talk about it on the other side.
Yeah, historical.
We'll talk about it on the other side. But it's really interesting. Really interesting. The Russians have got it wrong, but they're not. There is context, and we'll talk about it.
That's right. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Boy, I'm so glad you're feeling better, Hal. You sound 1,000% better, buddy.
Oh, indeed. I have a.
You were sniffling. You were coughing. You were struggling, man.
Oh yeah,
you were struggling.
I have a sauna blanket, like one of those red light therapy sauna blankets that cooks you at like 110 degrees.
Really?
Yeah.
Ding! It's done. Stick
it's
a
good
fork
stuff.
in Hal.
Yeah, basically.
I'll have some of the white meat, please.
That's right. It's all white meat. But I do have to put those weird little turkey leg chef's hats on my feet when I use it. That's the only difference. But the basting is the best part, I have to say. But anyways, yeah, right. I'm self-basting.
How far can we drag that out?
Right, it's terrible. But yeah, so I on Tuesday and Wednesday, and especially, like I only do it every couple of days. I use this thing, and it's great. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, I cooked the living crap out of myself. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, and that helped immensely.
Well, whatever it was, it worked. You're much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to be a little kind of scatterbrained about all that kind of stuff. We'll go back to the Belarus stuff. I think we should talk about the Patriots more.
Yeah.
We can talk about Zaluzhny, the head of the army's warning that he thinks the second attack on Kiev is an inevitability. But I want to talk about Poland, but I
Thank you.
won't bring it up until we're on the air. So
yeah.
But this Poland thing, you're right, is a really interesting topic.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Welcome back to the show. In a moment, we're going to talk with Philip Bittner about this whole like Poland narrative that the Russians tend to try to use as a divide and conquer strategy. I'm very curious about it. But to catch people up kind of on the current state of affairs, more than 100 Russian soldiers were wounded near Tokmak and Pologiv in the last 24 hours. Bakhmut and Idiiv, they keep trying to push into this area. Again, this whole idea of this like Pez dispenser money printing thing that the Wagner group is doing with recruits, where they just send them to the front to get killed and then they claim the territory. And when those guys die, they say, well, we lost the territory. They don't have to refund the Russian government. They just do it again and get paid again. Get paid 3-4 times for the same piece of land. And December 15th, the enemy lost Russians lost 100 people wounded and a cache of ammunition in Tokmak and Pologi settlements. And missile forces and the artillery defenses of Ukraine hit 5 personnel concentration areas, a command post, and 3 ammunition depots just yesterday. This is not... remember when we were all like, oh my God, they're mobilizing 300,000 people, and what they're really mobilizing is 1 million people, and it's going to be terrible. And it has not played out that way at all. It has simply been the same thing again. And by the way, if you have questions for Philip Bittner in the chat room, let Johnny Million know, and we'll be getting to those as we go on too. Now, and then tag Johnny Million in those questions, and that helps. Okay, so Poland. The root of this story and why they think it has legs.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, because much of Western Ukraine at one point was it's a section of the country called East Galicia. If you look at the perspective of Poland, and it was indeed part of it was part of Poland for many, many, many years. What the Russians are doing, and so bear with me, this gets complicated.
Sure.
The Russians are trying to do, as you say, a divide and conquer. That suddenly Poland is going to have a land seizure when the Ukrainian government inevitably collapses from the stress of this war, that Poland will use that as an opportune moment to grab that land which historically was theirs. Now, the Poles have repeatedly said that those days are gone. We have no claim on that territory. We don't want that territory. We're part of the European Union. We have no intention of expansion. That's 20th century, 19th century thinking. But of course, in typical Russian fashion, they still think that the world works that way. They still think that it's a Napoleonic land seizure, that it's just the same. They haven't recognized the world has moved on from this kind of like, I'm just going to take this land by force of arms and or by hook or by crook, and that's the land itself is the important thing. That
was me. Sorry, that's me.
Kitty. But I think it's worth mentioning, and here's the really interesting point about this, is that they're almost kind of half right in that if Ukraine does finally become a self-determining, independent, sovereign nation, something that has been denied because so many in Europe are deathly afraid of the massive size of the country and the capability, the GDP, the sheer might of this landmass, which not only is enormous, but also is you've got all this great land for growing stuff. It's got industry. It's got population. It's going to be a powerhouse. If that is to join the European Union, there is a very real possibility that the balance of power on the European continent could shift from a Franco-German dominated European Union or continent to the balance of power, the axis shifting towards the east, whereas there is a historic. There was once a empire in Europe called the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which went from the Baltics. If you look at your map, the Baltics on the north, which is the Baltic Sea, all the way down to the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, used to be an empire called the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which broke apart, became part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. We're not here for a history lesson, but it's relevant. What the Russians almost are twigging to, and what I think a lot of people in Europe are twigging to, is the fact that if Ukraine does finally break away and stop being a colony of one empire or another, something that many Europeans, both Western and Eastern, have been afraid of, because this could be a very powerful country. And I believe it will. But what the Russians aren't saying, the Russians are doing it like the Napoleonic land grab. What they really should be thinking of is, will this be a shift in the balance of power in the European Union from Berlin and Paris to Warsaw and Kiev? Which I think is indeed a possibility. But that would be much more benign and about commerce.
Yes. Also, I'm sure the Polish are hoping for this,
Russians.
and they do have a lot of historical and physical weight as far as landmass and their central pivot point as far as where they are geographically. That helps. I think there's as much of a chance, if not a stronger chance, that there's more of a Ukrainian alignment with Finland and Sweden and Estonia and Lithuania and Latvia than there is of Poland having outsized control over the Ukrainians. And it's all going to align with Europe as a greater economic bloc anyways, because they all basically want the same stuff. It's so it makes no sense for it's not like the Polish are going to invade. It makes no sense. And Russia, that's the storyline they're putting. They're putting it
that's what they're trying to sell. They're trying to sell the argument that Ukraine is just going to swap one colonial master for another, and it's also just Poland. Reveals. Yeah, then it's going to be Poland.
What?
I mean, it reveals their ignorance. It reveals their mindset that their idea that Ukraine can never be anything other than a subjugated colonial entity, and they're so wrong. And if the Europeans think that, they're going to have comeuppance as well. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this sincerely, having spent as much time as I have in this country. They are done being they're done being a colony.
Sure.
Never again.
Well, nobody's going to expect them to be. I mean,
they don't have to be.
The Japanese and the Germans aren't. Exactly. We don't care. And the interesting thing is
those things
that
are gone.
Yes, and the U.S. system itself is predicated on this idea of do what you're good at, and if we can, and we'll do what we're good at, and they'll do what they're good at, and we'll all just trade. That's largely how the system works. When we're not talking about resource wealth, which is dying on the vine, which brings us to sort of oil and gas. I announced earlier in the show that the Biden administration is replenishing the oil they sold from the strategic reserve at $93 a barrel. They're buying it back for $72 and making a profit on the and refilling it. It's just goofy. So, and since the idea wasn't to, was to lower the cost of gas and oil, not to make that initial profit on an investment in the first place, they're basically two wins out of the same effort. There's a guy there was Julia Davis, who we love, who along with War Translated, is one of the people who really breaks down a lot of what the Russians are talking about on Solovyev's show, and what's her name, your ex-girlfriend.
Margarita Simeon.
Yeah, Simeon, right.
Or what's her? It's terrible. I'm gapping her. It's all horrible. But yeah, thank goodness for Julia.
So they have this guy come on this week, which usually these folks are pretty jingoistic, a lot of saber rattling, chest thumping, a lot of silverback behavior. But they bring on this dude wearing a full-on Z T-shirt on every time he's on the show, right? And he was, I guess, either sent as one of their correspondents to the front lines or close to it, whatever, or he was actually serving. But he's quoted this week as saying, "We were joking about American weapons. Let me tell you, after getting to know HIMARS and the 150 millimeter projectiles up close and personal, it's not very funny anymore." Yeah. It's amazing to me.
Julia is doing such just a great service.
Right.
What I
cataloging this for history. Right.
Cataloging this for history. and also now, just so that we're aware of where their headspace is. And
yes.
I found that interesting. But the other thing I found interesting this entire week from them is their repeated conversation about who are we if we are not an empire. They are
right.
They, meaning the West, meaning primarily America, are trying to destroy us.
Right.
But then they say that we are trying to destroy them by making them change into something they haven't been in the past. So even at some level, they themselves recognize that they will have to readdress who they are, their sense of self-worth, their sense of space and place on the global stage. Who are they if they are not the Russian Empire? If they do not have and hold territory external to what is traditionally considered Muscovy. There was a time when Russia wasn't even called Russia. It was called the Principalities of Muscovy. And that's basically St. Petersburg, Rostov, this kind of European side of the Russian nation. And they are openly saying, who are we if we are not an empire? And it's this
welcome
really
to
crisis of identity for them.
Welcome to the present.
Yeah,
that's
welcome
the nature
to the 21st
of
century, guys.
Yeah, right. Welcome to the current international world system, where we all have to get along, and that these old, outmoded ways of just attacking people and taking what they got are dying on the vine. The United States is tired of it. We're getting out of all of our war entanglements slowly but surely. Some of it takes some time to apparently defuse these bombs so that they don't just go off. But we're basically just retracting in this, and leaving it, and Russia and China are trying to fill this gap that they think exists. But the reality is America is moving out of these things, not, because we just don't want to do it anymore, but because it's unnecessary. It is not how the future will be won, nor will it be how economic challenges are met in the future at all. No, and as we move away from resource economies, let's take a break, though, before you hold that thought, because we're going to take a break.
We'll talk about this. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, on the other side. We'll be back right after this. This is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Well, actually, we could talk a little bit about this in the break, so it's a little extra for you guys who are watching the podcast. But I think it's also really important to recognize that we're old enough, all three of us, to have grown up in a period where we were told for years and years, corporatization of the world. It's in the future, the world will not be dominated by nation states. It'll be dominated by corporations. I mean, think of RoboCop. Think of
OCP.
Think of Think of what's the one, Rollerball. Where everything is run by corporations and nation states aren't so important anymore.
Or Fight Club with Planet Starbucks and all that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That kind of mentality. Well, of course it hasn't come to that, but there is something to the idea that we don't have taking somebody else's territory is counterproductive because we live in a globalized society. So why would I go to war with you and destroy your commerce, whatever industry it is, when I can just trade with you in a free trade zone, and we all have kind of free trade treaties, and
especially as branding starts growing. Here's the other thing. You want to talk about what's going to be the impact on nation states? Is there's going to be more retreating and less mixing of nation states than there ever have been on the planet, because if you want to buy English shortbread, you're going to want to buy it from people from England. If you want Indian tea, you're going to want to buy it from people from India. So everybody's going to retreat home and sell their wares in a way that they used to have to traverse physically over borders to do it or go get stuff. It's not, that whole system is collapsing.
Hey, Hal.
Yeah, and the Russians just don't know yet.
Is the next segment the happy hour song or the happy song, or is that the
yes,
one
it
after
is.
that?
It's the
Awesome.
it's the quarter hour, it's the tail end quarter.
My God.
Yeah, we're early.
All right, we're about to come back then.
Okay.
Okay.
Not this segment, but the following. No.
Okay, perfect.
Next one, yeah.
So this one.
Yeah. Quit it.
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. I'm just talking to Johnny Million's cat. It's what I do. By the way, before we get into the questions that have been presented by our chat room at infotainmentwars.com, we don't need the documents. We have everything memorized. So your ex-girlfriend, Simonian, she said, and I thought this was one of her best quotes so far, and she said, why, everybody's trying to figure out, why are they invading? Is it to denazify and demilitarize? And is it NATO expansion? No. Simonian says, we are fighting because we are different and for our right to be different. Which is, keep in mind, these are the people who don't want there to be gay pride parades. So, right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's their Russkaya dusha. It's their Russian soul that is so unique on the global stage.
So unique. Yes, because nobody in this in human history has ever invaded another country just to take their stuff and wipe them out. What a new and fascinating take on human interaction. I'm amazed.
And the repeated mantra I've heard so often in the last month or so is, what is the world without Russia? There is no world without us. It's kind of like, well, yeah, but who are you? It's not on us to decide where you are on the planet. Who are you?
Right.
So it's an identity crisis. Simonian is really, it's so transparent when she talks about this kind of stuff, because she is so terrified of, like, oh my God, we might have to look in the mirror.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to, you got to stand there and look at the fact that, they haven't produced anything worth a damn without the help of NASA in, 5 decades. And if you include nuclear weapons in things that aren't worth a damn, ever, what are you doing? And it's not like they couldn't. It's not like the Russian people themselves are incapable of high-level technical thought. They've just been suffocated for so long. This is so stupid.
Well, it's a deeply traumatized country, and I mean, to be serious.
Oh, come on, we all are
100%.
Well, yeah, we're Gen Xers.
No.
Yeah.
No, look. I agree with you. I agree with you. But there is Russia and Ukraine, and they have been traumatized at their own hands by their own power elite or whatever. Look, all countries have this kind of stuff, but they are really, really screwed up in Russia, and it's
right.
It doesn't excuse a darn thing. I am not letting them get away with anything, but
Understood.
they need to get on the couch and spend some time with their therapist and figure out who the heck they are. Do a little introspection.
We got to take these questions, but there's the same argument I had with Tara Dublin Rocks, that at a certain point, I do not believe that psychologically broken answers everything, and I think a lot of people just decide at some point that the way they get their needs met is by being awful. It is that people who don't understand that there is pleasure in being terrible and do all the character work to keep yourself from acting on baser impulses have no idea that there are a bunch of people who aren't like, dear daddy, love me, in what they do. They're like, this is how I get it. And that there's a lot of those gross people in the world.
And there's one quick other thing, and we are going to get to the questions because I love the question so much. But look at the Black Mirror aspect of Ukraine and Russia, where Russia refuses to look in the mirror, refuses to do the work, refuses to get on the couch and talk to the therapist. And here in Ukraine, which is equally, if not more, traumatized by the Holodomor, by the Second World War, much of which the fighting was on this soil, not in Russia.
Right.
Remember, it was the Soviet Union. These people at least recognize we are traumatized and we must do something about it. There are social programs all throughout this country. There are right now children traumatized by the fighting. I have a very dear friend who is working with a children's aid group out in the West, and one of their first and their priorities, their biggest priorities is let's deal with the PTSD that these kids are suffering from, because this is the generation that will grow up in a free and independent Ukraine, and they must address the mental health issue. But Russia
they need to be psychologically sound after all this stuff. You don't want them to just be able to destroy the future of your country. They don't, by just wrecking.
So just because you had Stalin, and just because you lived in a communist, and just because the Russian Orthodox Church has screwed your head up, and you lived under the czars, and your history has been one of subjugation and trauma and just awfulness, it does not excuse you from
taking it out on anybody else.
Russia.
Right?
Yeah, taking it out on anybody. So
we
get on the couch, do the work.
I don't care if George H.W. Bush was nice to George W. Bush, or if Dick Cheney's parents, taught him Ayn Randian Darwinism. It doesn't excuse their behavior when they were in the presidency. And I will vote against anyone even remotely close to that the rest of my life for that very reason. There's a difference. Yeah. So, anyways, let's grab a question. So, because you and I will eat this up because we get carried away over the Wednesdays.
I know we do.
Yeah.
We do. All right, let's do
it. So, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Sure can.
So, you got a question from Greg Edmond. Please ask Phil how COVID-19 and the flu are affecting Ukraine.
Still very much here. Still, COVID is, and look, it's winter. People's immune systems are down. You still see, folks walking around with masks. But I'm also not going to lie. I'm not going to, pretend that folks don't have other priorities right now, like making sure that they have light in their homes and food on the table and don't freeze to death. So it's there. It's still very present. It's you can get immune boosters. I don't know which boosters they get. I suspect most of the vaccines probably are European, because the Russian the Sputnik is useless. It's an old outdated one that they stole from the laboratories in Oxford before it was even completed. So they don't take the Sputnik, even if they had better relations with Russia. So I'm suspecting most of the vaccines that they have here are the European vaccines. But it's not the priority, but it hasn't gone away. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Can I squeeze in another one here?
Yeah.
Yep.
So from Facebook last week, Kevin Patrick asked, how much of the Navy are the Russians utilizing?
Well, they're utilizing quite an awful lot of it in terms of what they can. Their surface fleet is restricted because there are military systems the Ukrainians are using, not just anti-ship missiles that they shoot from the coastline, but they also have this naval drone that they've almost perfected. And by the way, Western powers, I have no doubt, are looking at those naval drones and thinking, well, how can we improve on that? So the Ukrainians have deterrents for surface level ships. What they don't have deterrents for is the submarine fleet. And also, in addition to that, Russia can bring out some of its missile frigates and shoot. They look, a lot of the cruise missiles that are coming at, like they came at us yesterday and on Friday. Those, a good chunk of those come from the Black Sea. A lot of them are from underwater, are from submarine fleets, because those aren't subject to attack from the Ukrainian systems. But yes, the Black Sea is a platform. It is a launching pad for a lot of the munitions that get chucked at us here. And we've seen how badly, for example, Odessa, right there on the water's edge, without time to react, is liable to be getting hit pretty hard. So the short answer is the Black Sea is a platform from which the Russians do launch missile systems, and it is not good. and they're doing everything they can to dissuade the Russians. But clearly, we're still getting hit from there.
Yeah.
When do we go to break?
We got at the quarter.
One quick one.
Yeah, we got.
Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh, we got tons of time. Oh,
okay.
So
Go Gibbons last week.
Yeah.
Does Phil know of any Russian involvement in the attempts in Germany?
The coup attempt by the guy with the triple barrel name, the Baron. What's it? Yeah. No, the Russians were very much involved in that. Very much involved in that. There's no doubt whatsoever. There were guys who had direct links to the Kremlin or the GRU, the intelligence arm of the Russian military. We know it the Germans know it. They know that was at least in part coordinated with or propped up or supported by the Russians. Look, there are a lot of fellow travelers in the West when it comes to Russia, there are useful idiots. But make no mistake about it, the Russians think they're at war with the entire West, even before Ukraine started. I would argue that Ukraine is a byproduct of them thinking that they are already in a global war with the West, rather than them thinking that because they invaded Ukraine, that they're at war with the West. They are fixated on the idea that the West wants to destroy them for a variety of reasons, not least of which their history, but also because Putin has decided that it's a really useful tool for him to make their population deathly afraid of yet another Western invasion of Russia, given their history, because then the Russian people will not fuss with the political shortcomings that the kleptocracy that Putin has created steals from them on a daily basis. So he's been spreading this message that the West is out to get us, and we better start doing something about it. And now he's they're acting like they're at war. So they interfered in Germany. They interfered with us in 2016. They interfered with the Brexit referendum. They have tried to get Le Pen in France, in a position of power. They have done a lot of manipulation in Italy. Their fingers are in a lot of different pies because they know they can't fight a conventional war, but they can use their intelligence services to destabilize things, and they're doing it.
Real quick.
Be aware of it.
Yeah, right. Real quick before we get to break, and we're going to take more of your questions at infotainmentwars.com and at twitch.tv/HalSparks. If you're on Twitch, don't forget to subscribe. Helps us out immensely, especially as the holidays come up and the shows get lighter because we're all away. Interestingly, two things. One is, I still don't quite grasp why they think there's such a huge difference between Russia and the West in terms of it's not, it would be if they were still the USSR, but they are not. And they haven't, for all practical purposes, other than the imperialistic aspects of things, have no intention of going back to the socialist or communist aspects of things. They don't give a crap about it enough of their citizens to even try. So I don't know why they think there's that huge difference, except for just the West is just a placeholder name for whoever's on the other side of the resource war they think they're fighting. The other thing is that
the decadent West. We'll go into it, but we can't go into it. But the whole Russian soul thing and the decadent West and cultural. We don't believe in LGBT rights and this whole idea of inalienable human rights. That's
just
not
butch nonsense. But the other thing is that there is a milestone that is going to be hit by Russia. By their own accounting, sometime in the next probably 48 hours, the official number of dead Russians in this fight, not just wounded, but dead Russians, will top 100,000 within the next 48 hours. They are at 99,435. That's the official count. That's from 7 days ago. They may have already surpassed it. It might be a lie already and blah, blah, blah. 99, that's their numbers, their count right now, officially, the one that was presented to Vladimir Putin yesterday was 99,435 dead Russian soldiers. That's not civilian deaths. That is ridiculous. And they are going in 48 hours. In the space of not even a year. We're at 9 months of this stuff.
10 months. 10 months. 100,000 people dead for nothing.
100,000 Russian soldiers and conscripts dead. In a country with a demographic collapse problem, just like China. Their like childbearing years sons are being burned at an attrition rate that is more than 10 times at this point the death rate of people who died in Afghanistan in a decade. They lost 9,000 some odd soldiers in a decade in Afghanistan. This is insane. It's grotesque. Yeah. And they're going to hit this number, and I'm curious what the reaction will be in the in the Julia Davis clips when that number crosses their threshold. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll be back right after this with the happy ending. I wanted to get that in before that because that's not happy at all.
Not happy.
No. We'll be back. That is nuts. 99,435 official as of 6 o'clock Moscow time yesterday. That was the number he was reported with. Jesus.
God, it's just so depressing.
It's
I got no love for the Russian soldiers, but it's just, and it's part of their doctrine. They just throw young men
bodies at stuff
at artilleries at artillery.
I don't know why you wouldn't want them running your country. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want an organization like that controlling other European countries or any at all. Why would the same people that gave you the Brittany Griner trade will only give her back if you give us a terrorist and an arms dealer, which, by the way, I don't know if you've seen them talking shit about Victor Bout on the Russian channels.
Yeah.
And saying he's got the same last name as Maria Butina. The Bout and Butina are the same root names. Little Boot and Boot are the same kind of idea. And that they're like, all we get back are these people who are useless now. They're all like livid. It's hilarious.
Well, and then also adding, throwing logs on the fire of the whole, like, they took a lesbian pot smoker instead of one of their great proud Marines. Sort of, they don't care. They don't care.
Really, what happened?
They're just attacking. They're just a.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together. Whether the weather is cloudy or sunny, I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you? Chugga chugga choo choo. Woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together. Whether the weather is cloudy or stormy, I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yeah. I got so excited. I was like hitting the stuff on my desk just to be silly, and I almost hit my BS button, which we've got us dumped in the middle of the happy song, which would not have been good. So, Lovely wanted to cover that. I think part of our happy ending should be that Marjorie Taylor Greene is concerned that sex toys are for sale in the same aisle as lube at Target and CVS, right?
Pathetic.
Yeah,
so
it's just
in her cocktail dress with her slit upper leg.
You're right.
The woman's a nightmare.
Yep, but again, I'm curious to see where her funding comes from when this is all said and done. Because she's one of these folks that the QAnons wouldn't exist otherwise as well. And if you want to talk about input from these crowds, from the Russians in terms of this, this is for real.
And if we want to keep going with the happy ending, I was out today filming. There are people. It was a miserable day weather-wise, but people are still out. Buying.
There is a Christmas question. Stargal wants to know if Bill is celebrating Christmas on December 25th or in January.
Well, they'll do both. Because you have Orthodoxy here, and then you have Western Christianity, which Protestant and Catholic here in. Now they have changed the official kind of state. They have solidified or recognized the 25th as a Christmas holiday. So there is an adoption of what they call Catholic Christmas here as a statewide recognized holiday, which they hadn't done in the past. You know, there are little stores selling tinsel and ornaments and Christmas trees, and let's not forget the Festival of Lights, the Jewish community in Ukraine. Yes, there is a strong Jewish community in Ukraine, believe it or not. The Central Synagogue, I was just down there a day or two ago filming for this thing about a vlog I'm doing about the holiday season. The Festival of Lights will happen. The menorah, despite the efforts of Vladimir Putin, will be lit, just like the Maccabees. There will be lights on the menorah this year, despite Putin trying to knock out the energy sector and knock out all lights. The menorah will be lit. So Christmas, Hanukkah, it's all happening here. And, people are there. Look, it's not a normal Christmas. No way. But, and it's not, last year there was an enormous Christmas village down in the old city. It was beautiful. I wasn't there, but I've seen pictures. This year, obviously, they can't do that. But there are still, people selling little Patron, the bomb-sniffing dog, Christmas tree ornaments. There are wreaths. Beautiful. I was in a underground because a lot of stuff here is underground given the weather. Little walkways and stuff, like a subterranean city almost. And there was a beautiful display of wreaths that were being sold, people putting together fir tree, branches and stuff. Look, it's happening. People are conscious of the trauma and the difficulties that they're going through. They're conscious that this is not a normal Christmas, but they are still thankful for everything that they have. Their families are gathering. People will raise a glass. There will be joy. There will be light, and there will be good food and good drink, and people will celebrate absolutely 100%, with the caveat that it's hard to celebrate and be as joyous as one would hope when they're going through what they're going through, but they're not going to let it keep them down. No way. Yes, there's Christmas here.
Well, I'm still stuck on the idea that they get two Christmases. What the heck? It's like
well, they don't get to. You get one Christmas if you're on the Gregorian calendar, and you get another if you're in the Julian calendar, because of the divide between Orthodoxy and Western Christianity. So you don't celebrate both; you celebrate one or the other. Usually, if you got a family, and plus, by the way, Orthodox Christmas is a very different affair than what the trappings that we're used to in Western. In Western Christianity, it's a much more solemn event, Orthodox Christmas. What the Soviets used to do is they tried very hard, the Soviets, to get away from religion. So what they tried to do, and in many ways they're actually quite successful at it, was to change everything that was with Christmas, because that's religious, and put it on to New Year's, which is secular. So you see a lot of people, and they still do it in Russia really strongly. But here in Ukraine, they do to a certain extent, but Christmas is taking over. They celebrate Novy God, or New Year. And all they did was just swap over stuff. Like the Russians have, instead of Father Christmas, they have Grandfather Frost, who runs around with usually a very beautiful ice maiden, and they jump over the fire. The whole story of Ded Moroz, Grandfather Frost, is that he jumps over the fire. He waits on the other side of the fire, and the snow princess, the snow maiden, jumps over the fire, and eventually her love and dedication to Father Frost, she melts in the fire. Typical Russian stuff. Here in Ukraine, they do St. Nicholas. Catholics and Protestants, of course, have Santa Claus. It's the holiday season. Everybody kind of does have a festival at this time of year, cultures around the world, and they'll have this one too. But unless you have a family that's both, maybe your father divorced and is now with a family that's Orthodox Christian, maybe you get your 7th, I think it's 7th of January, or 3rd of January, your Orthodox Christmas, and then, maybe on your mother's side, she stayed Catholic, and so you get that sort of thing. But that way it's the same as if your father was Jewish and your mother was Catholic, and they split, so you get Hanukkah and Christmas. But
pretty sweet.
Generally you get one or the other. Well, yeah, because we all know how really cool Hanukkah gifts are.
They're getting
when
better.
I was growing up, I say this with love, because my Jewish friends, when I was growing up, we'd be like, I got the new Atari, and they'd be like, I got a pencil box.
Right.
So
I got a rock. Yeah. Right. It's a very Charlie Brown.
That's my favorite.
But it's all good. It's all good, whether you're Jewish or Protestant or Catholic or Orthodox or whatever it is you are. During this time of year, this holiday season, war cannot stop it. Putin cannot stop it. There's going to be pig fat, salo, on black bread.
Johnny, by the way, but Johnny and I both had
Chicago,
and it was spectacular. Where's that?
It's a heart attack. It's a heart attack, but it's tasty.
It isn't. You process. That's not saturated fat. That's not processed. That's just treated. It's different. It's like cooked. It's not. That's different. Calm down.
Okay,
it's delicious.
You tell that to my heart after I've had a whole full plate of it.
While you're going clear.
Yeah, pump.
If you have a hole in your esophagus that goes straight to your aorta, you have bigger fish to fry than pork fry. Right.
There's breads. There's these lovely breads that they do.
Oh, there are.
Cakes.
That's the bread's the problem. It's not the fat. It's the bread. It's the carbs.
And the sugars. The sugars. Lots of sugar.
Also, yeah.
Oh,
well, don't sugar your fat.
Lots of sugar.
Oh, now I'm getting hungry. This is wrong. All right, one more question real quick. We've got like a minute left.
I'm choosing my favorite question from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask Phil if lasers are the next defense in Ukraine? Please say yes.
I wish, but no, probably not. I that would be great. I know that the U.S. military is working with lasers, and we were hoping in Iraq that would be developed to a point where they could just take out mortars, because that was the worst thing when you're on a U.S. military base in Iraq with those darn mortars. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
You can mess up the track. The good news is you can mess up the tracking on them, but you cannot heat them up and make them blow up. But you can throw off their tracking with a laser, especially if they're thermal tracking. They can you can create artificial wherever you hit it. It thinks it should go that way, so it's just like it works the same way as countermeasures. That just throwing that out there, but not quite yet.
And here on the happy ending, as we draw to a close, yesterday we were struck with over it was 76 missiles or some form of ordnance was thrown at this country, and 60 of them were shot out of the air. It is not lasers, but Ukrainian air defense is still. Thank goodness for the look. I woke up yesterday to the sound of air raid sirens and explosions. Too close for comfort. So they did.
Thanks so much, guys.
But the Ukrainian air defenses are still strong, and thank goodness for them.
That's right. Thanks so much for joining us, Philip Bittner. Thank you, Johnny Million. Thank you, Chicago. We'll see you guys next week. We're right at the net. Like we just made it just under the wire. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Infotainmentwars.com, twitch.tv/HalSparks. Follow us on Twitter until it dies. Bye. Ouch. That actually hurt me.
There's just never enough time.
There never is, because there's
so much to talk about.
Because we're so chock full of info. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Chicago. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chicago. And we're a bunch of tatty Cathys.
Yes, we are, which is good. That's kind of the whole point.
So I'm still doing Tom. I'm doing Tom. We got delayed this week.
As you do.
They had something on Thursday, but normally I'll be doing Thursdays. Yesterday I did, on Friday. I'll do a couple next week, but look, I'm still trying to expand out. And,
keep at it. Round 2, guys. And
I've got an editor. I've got an editor now, so more vlogs are coming.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a lovely woman. Who's a friend of a friend. Not a friend of a friend. She's a friend of a guy I used to work with at CBS. And she's lovely, and so she's going to help me edit, which I hate So we're going to try
Yes.
and put out more vlogs. But yeah, folks, keep the pressure on. Whether it's Bo of the fifth column or Pac-Man or Mary Trump. Would love to talk to Mary Trump.
Yep.
So
just
anyhow,
keep
folks,
if you
you
keep
all are
tweeting
so
and messaging
lovely.
them, it just takes a matter of time. Like you just keep hammering it, and eventually they'll say yes. That's how it works. So,
and I'll try and get myself on the radar with the vlogs and all the rest of it. So, and I guess I got to swap over to Mastodon. Is that where everybody's migrating over to?
not quite. I mean, Mastodon's is an architecture, not an actual site. But there's right now, like I've created in the last week, like a post account. I've got my Mastodon one. I'm on Tribal. Like it's all going to shake out probably February, I would guess. Or somebody's going to buy Twitter outright for pennies on the dollar, and he's just going to tuck his tail and run. And then, can you imagine the blossoming that will happen with Twitter?
I knew a guy who worked for Musk at Tesla, and he said that he's you can't talk to him because he can't. He's
you want to live narcissist?
Yeah. Well, no, he's also on the spectrum allegedly,
and he's also on the spectrum. He is on the spectrum, and the guy that I spoke to, who was trying to do his public affairs for Tesla, said you got to get ahead of like some of these really bad things about your solid state batteries, and he just wouldn't listen, and his mind would wander, and he felt like he was talking to a 6-year-old who kind of had whatever shiny object was put in front of him, he would dart from one thing to the next. So
right.
The guy should not be running Twitter, clearly. But who knows? I'm kind of sad about it because I think I use Twitter. I think it is a great tool. But if somebody else can replace it, then off we go.
Well, I got news for you. Almost anyone can replace it. It's just a matter of scale because it's not. Yeah. Again, it was a ripoff of Facebook status updates initially. It was just Facebook status updates only. Yep, and from that it grew to have pictures and some and video and longer stuff, but that was basically it. The Spaces thing is dumb. It's never gonna turn into a thing. It's just weird. Malcolm's
got his subreddit going.
Right.
Or his Substack. And I suspect at some point Malcolm will have me on to talk about things here while he's back stateside. So
sure. Even
maybe
still, like there are too many outlets for those things, and you can post them in another form on other stuff and link to them on Instagram and that kind of thing. There's just some convenience aspects of Twitter that people got used to. But somebody creates a site that just called like crap and looked exactly like Twitter. People would just jump over to it if it just did everything the same way. So and you could get verified. That's really the thing, because you want to know you're talking to somebody real, and you want to be able to parse out who's real and who's not. That's it. So, anyways,
You got to run. Okay,
I do. So I got to go run to the airport and pick up family.
Sparklers.
So,
let's hit up Mary Trump. Yay, that sounds lovely. Let's hit up Mary Trump. Let's hit up Bo of the fifth column. Let's keep getting it out there because again, my pitch. Let's get heard more, shall we?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thanks so much.
Buddy.
Love you, Johnny Million. Thank
happy
you, Phil
holidays,
Bittner.
all the rest of it. Thank you, Johnny. So lovely to see you. I'm glad you're feeling better, Hal. We'll talk on Wednesday, yeah?
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Take care of yourself.
Everybody.
Take care of your health.
I will. I promise. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. And thank you, everybody in the chat room. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for the super chats today and the support. Really appreciate it. I keep trying to get a full run of talk without coughing, and then I get out over my skis. That said, I really appreciate you guys showing up every Saturday. Thank you for your eyeballs. It's the biggest gift you can ever give, and I appreciate it more than you know. And I will see you guys on Monday. The morning shows will be just an hour this week, and I may have guests, even on the episodes where I have guests. I will just do the show with them instead of the other half, if that's okay, because it's a holiday week, and I got a bunch of family in. And then the afternoon show will be normal. So, or abnormal, depending on how you look at it. With the exception of Thursday, which will be a regular show, regular time. It'll be on at 3 because family's all here. So I don't have to do the timing. I can do it later. And then Friday, probably not doing a show. Just saying. because it's, it's a Christmas weekend. So much love to you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys Monday. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/HalSparks. I'll have a video for you guys tomorrow, just letting you know. And yeah, that's it. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay, take care and see you next time. Okay, bye.